Naval Ravikant says if he lost everything and started with $0, he would be wealthy again in 5 to 10 years. This is not arrogance. It is proof that wealth is not a bank balance. It is a set of skills. If you are starting with nothing today, you are not defeated. Here are Naval's exact rules for restarting your life, and why having $0 is actually your greatest advantage. The biggest lie society tells you about building wealth is that you need money to make money. We are conditioned to believe that without a massive inheritance, a lucky lottery win, or a venture capital investment, the doors to financial freedom are permanently locked. This belief is the primary reason most people never even attempt to start. They spend years waiting for the perfect moment when they finally have enough savings or when a bank finally approves their loan. But according to the philosophy of Naval Ravikant, this is a fundamental misunderstanding of how the modern world works. In the old economy, capital was indeed the king. If you wanted to build a factory, you needed millions of dollars for machines and land. If you wanted to start a retail empire, you needed thousands of dollars for inventory and storefronts. In that world, money was a barrier to entry that kept the poor in their place and the rich in power. But we no longer live in that world. We live in the age of permissionless leverage. Today, the most valuable assets on the planet are not made of steel or brick, they are made of code and media. And the cost of entry for code and media is exactly $0. When you have $0, your vision is not clouded by the fear of losing what you have. You are forced to be lean. You are forced to be creative. You are forced to look for the most efficient path because you cannot afford to waste resources on expensive mistakes. This is what Naval calls the advantage of the underdog. While a wealthy person might try to solve a problem by throwing money at it, a person with $0 must solve the problem by applying specific knowledge and building a better system. The illusion of capital often hides the fact that money is a lagging indicator. Money is the applause you get at the end of the show, not the performance itself. If you focus on the money you do not have, you are looking at the scoreboard instead of playing the game. To restart with zero, you must first realize that your true capital is your time, your reputation, and your ability to learn. These are the internal assets that no market crash can destroy and no government can tax away. Think about the most successful technology companies of the last 20 years. Many of them started in garages or dorm rooms with literally nothing but a laptop and an idea. They did not wait for capital to validate them, they created so much value through code and media that capital eventually came begging to be a part of their journey. If you are starting today with $0, you are in the same position as the greatest founders in history. You have the ultimate freedom of having nothing to lose. Your only job is to stop viewing your empty bank account as a cage and start viewing it as a blank canvas. The game of wealth is played in the mind first, and the moment you stop believing that you need money to start, you have already won the most difficult battle. Once you accept that you do not need capital to start, the next logical question is, how do you actually build wealth with $0? Naval Ravikant's answer is leverage. Leverage is simply a multiplier for your effort. Without leverage, you are limited to what your own two hands can produce in a 24-hour day. In the past, the only ways to get leverage were through labor and capital. Labor means getting other people to work for you. Capital means getting money to work for you. But if you are starting with $0, you cannot hire a team of employees, and you do not have money to invest. The traditional gates to wealth are closed. This is exactly where most people give up and accept a life of low income. But Naval points out that we are living in a completely unique moment in human history. We now have access to a new type of leverage, and the most incredible thing about it is that it is completely free. He calls it permissionless leverage. Permissionless leverage comes in two primary forms, code and media. Code means writing software, building applications, or designing automated systems. Media means recording podcasts, writing articles, or making videos just like the one you are watching right now. Why are these so incredibly powerful for someone starting with $0? Because the cost of replication is zero. If you write a brilliant piece of code, it can be executed by one person or 10 million people, and it does not cost you any extra time or money to serve those additional users. If you record a highly valuable video, it can be watched by thousands of people while you are fast asleep. To use permissionless leverage, you do not need anyone to pick you. You do not need a wealthy venture capitalist to fund your idea. You do not need a television network to broadcast your show. You do not need a manager to promote you. You just need a cheap laptop, an internet connection, and the discipline to sit down and create value. When you have $0, your entire focus must shift away from trying to acquire tiny amounts of capital through exhausting hourly labor, and shift toward building massive amounts of permissionless leverage. You are trading your free time, which is your most abundant resource right now, to create digital assets. You might spend 6 months writing a software program or building a digital audience and see absolutely zero financial return in your bank account. To a poor mindset, this looks like working for free. But to a wealthy mindset, this is accumulating leverage. You are building an army of digital robots, in the form of code and media, that will eventually go out into the internet and hunt for opportunities and wealth on your behalf. So if your bank account is empty today, stop complaining about the investors who will not fund you, and start building the code and media that do not require their permission. Now that you understand that code and media are your free tools for leverage, you face a terrifying question. What exactly should you build? What kind of software should you write, or what kind of content should you create? When you have $0 in your bank account, your only real asset is what is inside your head. But society has likely told you to value the wrong things inside your head. Society values general knowledge. It values the degrees you can get from a university or the standard certifications you can pass. But Naval Ravikant warns that general knowledge is a trap. If society can train you to do something, it can train someone else to do it, and eventually, it can program a computer to do it. General knowledge makes you replaceable, and replaceable people are paid an hourly wage. To build wealth from zero, you must discover and rebuild your specific knowledge. Specific knowledge is the knowledge that you cannot be trained for. It is the unique combination of traits, obsessions, and curiosities that make you exactly who you are. The most powerful indicator of specific knowledge is that it feels like play to you, but it looks like absolute hard work to everyone else. For some people, diving deep into the architecture of complex back-end systems, connecting asynchronous data pipelines, or figuring out how a massive microservice operates feels like a fascinating puzzle. They can lose track of time doing it. To the rest of the world, that looks like incredibly boring, exhausting work. That is specific knowledge. For others, it might be analyzing the psychological movements of intraday trading markets, studying the philosophy of wealth, or figuring out how to automate video production workflows. You do not find your specific knowledge by looking at what is currently trending or what pays the highest starting salary. You find it by looking backward at what you naturally gravitated toward when you were young, or what you obsessively read about on the internet late at night. When you have zero capital, your specific knowledge is your only real monopoly. Nobody can compete with you on being you. When you combine your specific knowledge with the permissionless leverage of code or media, you become unstoppable. You are no longer just another employee looking for a paycheck. You become a unique creator building a product, a system, or a piece of content that only you could possibly build. And because it feels like play to you, you will have the energy to keep building it for years, long after the people who are just doing it for the money have given up and quit. So you have found your specific knowledge, and you understand how to use code and media as your leverage. But you still have $0 in your bank account. You have no reputation, no clients, and no track record. How do you bridge the gap between having a skill and actually generating wealth? The natural instinct for most people is to immediately ask for money. They want to be paid for every single hour they spend. But Naval teaches a completely counterintuitive approach. He says you have to play long-term games. And when you are starting with absolutely nothing, the most powerful move you can make is to work for free. In the technology world, there is a concept called proof of work. It is a guarantee that you have expended real energy to solve a complex problem. When you have zero capital, you must generate your own proof of work for the world to see. You do this by giving away massive amounts of value without asking for anything in return. If your specific knowledge is building scalable backend software, do not just send out resumes. Build a complex, open-source tool and publish the code for everyone to use. If your specific knowledge is financial strategy, write incredibly detailed public breakdowns and share them on the internet. Create media, write essays, and build systems that genuinely help other people solve their problems for free. To a short-term thinker, this looks foolish. Why would you give away your hard work when you are broke? But a long-term thinker understands a fundamental law of wealth. Capital follows trust, and trust is built through verifiable proof of work. When you put highly valuable assets into the world for free, you become a magnet. You attract an audience, you attract brilliant collaborators, and inevitably, you attract people with capital who want to invest in you, hire you, or buy the next thing you build. You are no longer just a nameless face begging for an hourly wage. You are a proven creator with a public track record of excellence. You trade your short-term desire for a small paycheck to build a long-term reputation. And in the modern economy, an unshakable reputation combined with specific knowledge is an asset that will eventually generate infinite capital. Stop worrying about monetization on day one, and focus entirely on building your proof of work. Now it is time to turn this philosophy into a daily routine. If you are waking up tomorrow with $0, having nothing but your mind and a cheap internet connection, here is your exact execution plan. The first step is completely counterintuitive. You do not start by trying to make $1 million. You start by radically dropping your cost of living. When you have absolutely no capital, your daily living expenses are your biggest enemy. You cannot make long-term, high-leverage decisions if you are constantly in a state of panic about paying your rent next week or buying groceries tomorrow. Stress narrows your focus. It forces your brain into survival mode, which makes you take the first low-paying, hourly wage job that comes your way just to stop the bleeding. By lowering your lifestyle to the absolute bare minimum, you are not punishing yourself. You are doing something much more profound. You are buying your own freedom. You are buying peace of mind. Peace of mind is the ultimate foundation for clear, strategic thinking. You need a calm, uncluttered mind to write complex code or to produce high-quality media. Once you have reduced your financial stress and stabilized your living situation, the second step is to ruthlessly reclaim your time. You will likely still need to work a standard job just to pay for your newly reduced living expenses, and that is perfectly fine. The goal right now is not to immediately quit your job and burn your bridges. The goal is to carve out 1 or 2 hours every single day that belong entirely to you. You have to treat these 2 hours as if they are sacred. Wake up an hour earlier before the rest of the world is awake and demanding your attention. Stay up an hour later when everything is quiet. Stop watching television. Delete the infinite scrolling entertainment applications from your phone. Stop going out for drinks with people who are playing short-term games. Those 2 hours are your new venture capital. Because you do not have money to invest, you must invest your focused attention. The third step is what you actually do with those 2 hours. You must pick your form of permissionless leverage. You must choose either code or media, depending entirely on what aligns best with your specific knowledge. During those 2 hours, you sit down and you start producing. If your specific knowledge is in technology, you start building scalable architecture. You might write the back-end logic for an automated trading system, or you might develop an asynchronous pipeline that solves a very specific problem for other businesses. If your specific knowledge is in philosophy, education, or finance, you use media. You write a deeply researched essay, you record an educational video, or you build an anonymous channel that distributes value at scale. The critical rule here is that you must stop consuming information on the internet and start producing value for the internet. You are no longer just an audience member. You are a builder. Finally, the fourth and most important step is to completely reset your time horizon. The single biggest reason people fail when starting from zero is that they expect to be wealthy in 3 months. If you expect quick, linear results, you will inevitably quit when nobody watches your first 10 videos or when absolutely nobody downloads your first software application. You have to tell yourself right now that you are committing to this exact process for 3 to 5 years. You are going to spend the next 1,000 days building your specific knowledge, stacking your permissionless leverage, and putting your proof of work out into the world completely for free. The compounding curve is flat for a very long time. It looks like you are going nowhere. But if you can maintain that daily discipline without demanding an immediate financial reward, your escape from zero is no longer a dream. It becomes a mathematical certainty. Wealth is the inevitable result of leverage compounded over time. Restarting with $0 is not a penalty. It is the ultimate freedom. When you strip away all the financial padding and societal expectations, you are left with the only thing that truly matters, which is the person you are becoming. The journey from zero to wealth is not just about accumulating numbers in a bank account. It is about fundamentally transforming your identity. You are no longer someone who waits for a salary or waits for permission from an investor. You are a builder. You are a creator. You are the sole owner of your time and your destiny. If you follow the rules of Naval Ravikant, if you lower your burn rate, uncover your specific knowledge, build massive amounts of permissionless leverage through code or media, and play long-term games with long-term people, the capital will eventually find you. It always does. Years from now, you will look back at the days when you had absolutely nothing as the most important and defining period of your entire life. You will realize that your empty bank account was never a cage. It was the blank canvas where you painted your freedom. If this video changed how you view your current situation and gave you a clear path forward, please hit the like button so this philosophy can reach other people who are starting from zero. Subscribe to the channel to keep mastering the mindset of the greatest thinkers and investors. And before you leave, drop a comment below and tell me, what is the very first piece of code or media you are going to build with your 2 free hours today? I read every single comment. Thank you for watching, and start building your future right now.